All right, I'm back for another try after talking to my newly discovered friend Andre, who lives in Raleigh and has done a lot of work similar to what I'm trying to do. We came up with a strategy on what to check next to try to get this chain unstuck. The running theory now is that chain is going around our intermediate shaft in that gear, and we can actually look through here and should be able to see something on the other side. Now, one thing he pointed out in a diagram is that the intermediate shaft is here and the crank is up here, and there is a chain that connects the two of them together. And on that chain, it has guides. So it could be some of the guides for it that chain is caught up on. So I'm going to take the borescope, stick it in here where we pulled this tensioner out of, and see if I can't see the chain at all. Good. So I guess I'm just going to continue on with stripping everything off the top of the engine. All right, gonna take the plenums off, just loosen these here and take this 10mm nut off of this mounting bracket. Disconnect the hose here. And then down here on the bottom of it, we have our vacuum line going here, so I'll just disconnect that. All right, there is a plug on the bottom that clips into that little piece there. Undo that. Next, I'm gonna disconnect this bracket that holds this on, that comes underneath here to that part. These are little 8mm, and be careful when you take them off. This thing falls off and can fall down there very easily. I'm gonna put these back in to keep track of them in this piece. All right, next I'm gonna unplug this little connector. It's got a little push thing to take him off, and then our fuel line here comes up and has a little bracket in here that it mounts onto. So I'm gonna remove that bolt and stick it back in there to keep track of it. Or this little triangle shaped connector, the last vacuum line, comes all the way up under here. Let's see. You can see that one comes up all the way under here and connects to this little tube. So I'm actually just gonna detach it from here because that's the easiest access point. Like that. And this wire runs between these two. And has the same little squeeze connector here, so just press that down and pop this off. All right, now this piece is actually completely free. So it runs here under this line. I'm just gonna pop it over here. And snake it through here. This line is also disconnected, so this is how it's routed. Just gonna take it off here. Took that thing off of it. And this end is just right here, so tuck him under there. Top of that other big hose, pull him out. So under the manifold now, we can see this other vacuum line that comes straight out of there. It is coming up here and goes straight up. That was what was connected to the bottom of our other plenum, or whatever those tubes are called. I'm gonna unclip all of the injectors. These fuel rails are like the other one. There's just one bolt on each side of it. Let's see. Yep, there's that one down there. But first, we'll pull the wiring harness out of the little clips on the fuel rail. Let's carefully pop the injectors out. And now, this whole fuel rail is disconnected. All right, put this all aside. I'm gonna store my fuel rail bolts back here so I don't lose them. All right, gonna take the manifold off. The two bolts here hold on this little bracket that had one of those plastic clips for the wiring harness, but it's all brittle and just disintegrated. So I'm just gonna remove all the bolts, pull this one off. All right, I'm gonna take off this long hose that goes all the way over to the top and connects to the AOS on the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and replace this one, I think, because it's kind of squashed there. But it just routes down here in front of the alternator and around there. I guess I'll go ahead and remove my good cams. This is normally when you have that cam locking tool that holds them in place while you're doing this. Guess maybe I should do that. Let me take this guide off first. All right, this is not how you're supposed to do this. This is why you do more research than I did. See, this is what happens when you think you know what you're doing and you don't look at any instructions and you really try to screw stuff up. Oh, God. So what I should have done is put this actual thing on here to hold them in here before removing those caps. I forgot to unscrew the bolts over here. So let me try to reverse what I did. I don't know if I can. All right, I got one guy kind of held up, so yeah. Oh God, don't do this, guys. Okay. Not the way to go. Gonna zip tie our sprocket to our chain here. And gently remove this one again. All right, so for our lifters over here, I am gonna remove them and keep them in separate bags. So I'm gonna have bank 2, intake 1, 2, and 3, and exhaust 1, 2, and 3, and then mark these each left and right. All right, so bank, I don't know if you can see that, bank 2, intake 1. And I'll just remove him. Just gonna put him on the left side of the bag and keep the bag from rolling around. All right, set these aside. All right, got all those out. I'm gonna remove this lower rail. And we got the bolt out for the lower rail. All right, I'm gonna go back up to the top of the engine now. There are only a few more connections for our wiring harness. One of them is right here. So I'm gonna disconnect that plug and it is hooked into this little plastic clip right here. All right, we got it out of there. Now this end is all detached. Oops. All right, that is one clip over here. All right, we'll disconnect that guy. Now he is all loose. We have a connection right here at the very center. Squeeze those tabs in on the side, pop him off. And let's follow it around. We have a wire coming here to our alternator, that's our starter. So we'll disconnect this, and this is just hooked in to the little pipe here. All right, lift that over there. I'm going to disconnect him, put the nut back on here, And we got another connector down here. Pop him off. All right, now this half is done. Over here. Got one connection that goes to this bracket. Disconnect him. We have a plastic clip that has the whole harness in here. This is tucked under our hose. Let me try to lift this thing up. And what else is down there? Got one connection coming up to the front. This guy, tees off over here. Then we have a little connector on this guy down here. Let me show you down here. We've got this connection. All right, disconnect that little fella. All right. Now, what else? Okay, so at the root of this, we have one more plug down there. And this cable here is coming right here. That one is a 13 millimeter. Disconnected two wires from it, this one from the wiring harness, and this one goes to our positive post up here. I could probably get to that little last connection down there, but first I'm gonna take off our alternator so that I can get to it easily. So it looks like we just got one big bolt here to remove, and then one here with that wheel. And that might be all that's holding it on. All right, these are both 15 millimeter. The first one is a short bolt. This one is a long one. All right, there's a super tight clearance here. So I have to keep working it off. And there's one more little connection from the wiring harness on the very bottom of it. That's what the connector looks like. Now we can easily reach this last, oops, that's not it. Now we can get down here to this last connector. Push part is on the top, and disconnect. And with that last connection off, I think anything else. All right, yes. You can lift this whole guy off now. Jesus. The very last connection of the wiring harness is grounded right here. All right, gonna take off our power steering reservoir now, two 13 millimeter bolts. All right, it feels like something else is holding this thing on. I don't wanna pull it too hard and break anything. All right, so I'm gonna take off this oil fill tube next. Looks like there's just that bottom bolt there, and another one right over here. I'm gonna disconnect this B plus thing first with just these two 10 millimeters. All right, now I move this out of the way. I can get to that 10 millimeter down here and over here and remove our little oil fill tube. Pop that guy out. All right, I put the bolts back for it, and that one looks like an important one to cover up so crap doesn't fall in there. Seems like a good time to take the oil cooler off. It looks just like a couple, probably 5 millimeter hex. All right, there's our 4 bolts with washers. And let's see. Hopefully it's got a good seal. All right, just used 2 hands to crack that seal. And whew. Got some coolant there and some oil over here. So just let that chill out over here and drain. All right, last little bit of cleanup here. Now it's super easy. All right, assume, yep, just pinch each side and this slides right out. So yeah, if you can reach that, that's the way to go for disconnecting our dipstick tube. All right, so our B plus big wire here is still on the back of our alternator. So 13 millimeter, I don't know why I keep calling this thing an alternator. Our starter. All right, with that off, we can hopefully disconnect this guy and get rid of him. And I just want to drop my nut right back here. All right, let's try to get rid of this starter, an extension, and a 15 millimeter. Bolt number 1. There we got our negative wire, which goes under the vacuum lines with this last bolt. Okay. Starter. All right, so this hard line for our dipstick tube is just a 10 millimeter right down here. Alright, so that's what this guy looks like if you've never seen one, which I have never seen one. Alright, this little vacuum line right here, if this ever breaks, and this is still in your car, oh my God, trust me, it sucks to fix that. So I'm just gonna disconnect that one from here, and I'll just leave them attached over here, I guess. So I'll pull him out too. Yeah, I'll leave it attached to our air pump. All right, I'm tired of standing, so I'm gonna sit and take this guy off now. No, 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 no. Oh, thank God. Ta-da! just gonna let the corner of this block keep dripping oil into my bucket. Here is a close look at everything here though. The rails from the outside at least look fine. Got all of our valves here. Everything looks nice and normal.